So recently, I've started the habit of recording my conversations with friends and families and colleagues because often we find that what we speak about is so um, interesting and deepening and explorative. So today, I share with you a bit of a conversation I had with Alex Aylward, and we are going to talk about the motion of rocking when we are listening, when we are in learning spaces, and the effects of rocking on the nervous system and the body.
Pausing busy lives. But the busy life doesn't have to be like on that particular day, I was very busy and I hadn't had time to check in with myself, as in holistically check in with myself. And that was the first opportunity I had to check in with myself, following your guidance and thinking about things to connect spirituality and emotions and the body together. And that was very noticeable for me. One of the movements you did, which is very soothing to watch, and as a leader, leaders don't do this, but you're leading the group and leading the space. But because you like movement, you are doing a gentle motion as you're talking like this. And it's a rocking motion. And what I noticed for me was the rhythm of, if like your swings, the rhythm was a very nurturing pattern, as in that is quite soothing. That I found, she's to look at you do that was, I think, gets you more into your parasympathetic nervous system because you're seeing a visual cue, not deep breathing like you show other movements. Let's do this, bring to the heart, or what you're moving arm movement. This was no arm movement. This was a shoulder upper body rocking motion, which triggers off obviously real nurturing, a real kind of feeling of safety. So you've been very, maybe you weren't knowing this, but the aspect of is, this is like somebody who is looking after you, wants to hug. It was a hugging type rocking motion, which is really interesting because you can't hug people on Zoom or online. But by doing that motion, and you were talking gently, it was a gentle voice, and you were just talking, but there was something about flexing your spine or just as if you were holding a child or something like that. Anyway, I thought that was really interesting to observe the feelings I was picking up from it.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Lovely. Yeah, it's funny. I feel there is much more of me online when I allow my body to move. So I am naturally very expressive with hands and face, but also the sense of, if I'm listening or if I'm holding a space for the participants to reflect, there is a sense, maybe a certain sense of nurturing rocking. I hadn't really thought, but I think rocking is one of the nervous system reset movement.
Well, as we get older, beyond menopause, we go into old people classically had a rocking chair, didn't they?
Yes.
You would sit on your porch, on your
lovely.
and you'd be rocking yourself this way or that way. But it helps with the lymph movement. It helps keep some muscles active. But there is a self-caring aspect. And maybe that's something to look into in your research. This. What is rocking through the different stages of age? So when you're a baby, you'll rock to sleep. When you're a child, you're going to cuddle, maybe a little rock. But when adults, we hug each other. And sometimes we just gently sway. The weight moves from one leg to the other. There's a gentle swaying as you're hugging somebody else. And then as we get through the ages, we go back to the old rocking chair, whatever it is.
Exactly.
Or swings. Swings are important. That's a kind of form of pendulum movement, isn't it?
It's sort of more free flying.
Free flight. But you could be on a gentle swinging chair, like a you don't have to do a proper swing. So there may be something in your research, you might have already done this, but maybe something. Who has researched rocking through the different ages of life?
Interesting. Yeah. That reminds me of a lot of the research in somatic practice.
Mhm.
It's about the evolution of movement in our body until we learn to walk. So basically, first as a baby, we lie on our backs and then we roll over, and then we're learning to roll over more. And then there is the push up of the chest, of the floor, and then there's push up of the hips. And then there is the lifting of the legs, and slowly the skeleton is actually building up to standing. So I think there's a lot of research on that, but I'm not sure I've ever seen anything about rocking. But yeah, I think
So there's rocking which is beneficial, but if you look at stressed animals or even stressed human beings, so stressed animals in zoos, like a bear or lion or what have you, will go 2 paces forward and 2 paces back. It kind of walks on the spot.
yeah,
But it's actually doing a pendulum movement of the body. It's doing something. I mean, the inner ears, the little ossicles, what do you call it, which have your balance, they need to be moving. They'll be
yeah, that's
creating
right.
signals.
Yeah.
Like that. And then if you've seen very sad pictures of people in orphans or mental hospitals, they often self-soothe through rocking in different forms, whether it's rocking on their bed or rocking in their chair, holding themselves. So people who may be put under stressful institutional situations,
Ooh.
the only comfort they can give themselves is this rocking process. Now, so there's all kinds of things of kind of the beneficial aspects, but maybe the stress aspects, the signaling aspect.
Yeah.
There's a heck of a lot here.
Fascinating. Yeah.
I don't know where you would take it really, but it's I don't know. I'd be interested. If you have the time in your life to look into it,
Yeah, well, it's all about prioritizing, isn't it?
it is absolutely.
Yeah, I
But
remember from when I did my PhD, there was the sense of developing language for attuning the body to what was going on. And I often felt I was, because I did my PhD in English, which is not my first language, that
oh,
sense of I was reaching for words with my fingers, or I was shaping the thoughts that I had that I wanted to convey to the computer and then the paper. I was actually feeling them before I could cognitively give words to them.
yeah.
So that's where I started to become aware of the interaction between brain and body. But to actually actively inviting the body as a source of knowledge or wisdom or information. And literally listen with the body. And really imagining like you're one big ear and you're leaning into whatever you're curious about.
Jim, Elaine, what I love, first of all, you know English and speak it better than anybody else I know. I mean, it's your second language. You know, it comes to you so naturally, which is brilliant. But when you go back in your mind and you're talking Dutch in your mind, do you get different information?
It's more that I do specific parts of my life in different languages. So like counting and maths, I just can't do in English because I didn't have I don't even know what's called subtraction and division and all the kind of maths that you learn at school, even counting. When I need to count quickly or even days of the week, it's so much easier in Dutch. It is really funny. Yeah, and then now days of the week I can do in English, but in French, I know the days of the week, of course, but every time I make an appointment with a doctor or a nurse or the dentist or whatever, I triple check if I've actually heard that this was really Tuesday or was it Thursday?
Yeah.
Double check. So it's kind of a conscious check. So my whole language of Protestant growing up, Protestant spirituality is very heavy. I don't like using it at all. So so I did most of my learning to engage with and later facilitate spiritual kind of experiences. That's all in English for me.
Wow.
So to say call on the spirits or call on your guides or call on your allies, I don't, even in my own head, never say that. I never say that in Dutch. It sounds so weird.
And have you tried it in French?
Yeah, French for the spirits is a little bit poetic. It's a little bit more poetic. But then my grammar isn't really good enough for it to really be a poetic, solid invitation. You know, that you really feel that this invitation comes from the body. Now then you'll hear the 5-year-old who's trying to speak a language that she doesn't master yet. So then it will be clunky and a little disrupted.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, in repeating myself, you're doing incredibly well. All of this. But yes, but there's that clunkiness. You're adjusting, and you're actually having to work quite hard when you talk about the clunkiness. But in that working, are you finding new neural pathways and gaining extra insights, or is it like being at school and just have to learn it by rote? That's when you just have to learn it line by line and repeat line by line, or there's something else happening?
You mean when I speak French?
French, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, in a way, not speaking a language very well allows for a lot of creative license.
Oh,
so I'm quite bold, I think, with metaphors and sayings and phrases. And
yeah.
it's really funny, depending on the receptor. So the person who's listening, that will allow for a conversation or not. So my partner has a very mathematic brain. And whenever I do metaphors, he really doesn't get it. And he says, well, you just can't say that. That doesn't make any sense. And then one of his friends who works with mythology and archetypes, he gets it immediately when I say, oh, my language has fallen into my toes right now.
That's lovely.
Something that isn't really a saying, but it gives a direction and
no, but,
a sense of disappearing.
But that's humorous. That's humorous
exactly,
at the same time.
Yeah. So I kind of feel, well, cheeky enough to play with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. You might be creating new phrases and new metaphors, which nobody has ever thought about. But could you add in your little clip of something about benefits of movement and this gentle movement? Because there are benefits, especially older people have benefits. And obviously when you're a baby, you have benefits from this.
Yeah, I think that would be another conversation, because I like small snippets on one specific topic, and then we can do another one on benefits of movement next time. How's that? And thank you for staying with me in this play, and now I know you need to go.
I do definitely need to go. Bye. Bye.